Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and a video I did yesterday, I did mention the problem with knee sleeves and wraps briefly, and I had a subscriber actually link another study on this, one I've never linked for you guys, so I'm going to link it down below and we're going to talk about it a bit. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, do a little bit of crafting, and let's get into this. The reason I need to cover this one is because a lot of people don't seem to know it. No matter how much you mention it, you always have people come up defending knee sleeves, knee wraps. In fact, when I did a video discussing some of this stuff the other day, Steve Shaw had in his video mentioned that knee wraps were beneficial, that they were fantastic and they should be worn. And yet, there are studies saying otherwise. And on top of that, you have to factor in there's a lot of YouTubers who wear these things, and they're always wearing them because they claim they make their knees hurt less. So we really need to talk about that, because the experts in these fields are saying they're dangerous. They're saying that they're going to harm you over time, and there's actually a couple of possible different ways that they're going to do so. So my question for people is, are you going to trust some guy who lifts weights on YouTube and that's it, versus the actual experts when it comes to damaging your joints? I mean, seriously, when you're talking about something that the experts are saying, hey, this is going to damage your joints. And I'm not saying I don't occasionally discuss counterindicated things, but there's a difference between counterindicated and beneficial versus something that doesn't help you get bigger or stronger at all. So let's get into that a little bit. With the actual study, they pointed out that due to the elasticity of knee sleeves, they changed the way the eccentric rep works. They changed the rate of descent. They changed a lot of things in the biomechanics themselves. They turn the squat into a different exercise. And the reason that's important is because I've discussed oftentimes for you guys a different pathway through which knee wraps damage the knees. What they're talking about here is an actual shift in the movement pattern and the loading pattern of knee wraps. Now keep in mind, when you think about the way a tight knee sleeve works, right, because most guys who are using knee sleeves are making them tight so they can get a little more weight. You're doing the same thing a knee wrap is in that case, right? You are creating extra pressure around the knee. You are creating elasticity at the bottom, because what happens with a knee sleeve? It compresses similar to a knee wrap, particularly when it's tied around the back of the knee. It rolls up and it creates like a barrier, like almost behind it. It's almost like a spring in a way. Now the knee wrap does it in a more pronounced way, but really tight knee sleeves, like a lot of guys do in the IPF, do the same thing, and it makes them a little stronger. They noted that with the knee wraps, that obviously it changes performance because of the elasticity there. It makes you stronger out of the bottom, but it's not your muscle stronger, it's external leverage is pressing on it. To say that it's going to build more muscle would be also like saying if you were to come put a little forklift down at the bottom of the squat that help you get the weight started, that's going to make you stronger. So stop and think about that for a minute. You're stronger because you have an external object pressing against your body and against the weight, helping you move the weight up out of the bottom. That's not your muscles doing it. So if it's not the muscles doing it, and it's even taking some of the eccentric loads, because a lot of times we would argue that certain exercises in which you cheat, you get a heavier eccentric load because you're using more weight, right? Some people will try to argue that with the squat with these devices, but it's not, because part of the eccentric rep is being soaked up by the device. As you compress down the knee wrap around your knee, or even a fairly thick, tight knee sleeve is compressing behind your knee joint. That is soaking up some of the energy from the eccentric rep. So you're not actually getting the benefit that you think you're getting from it. All right, and that's the point that people need to consider there. You're not getting the benefit you think you're getting because it's an external object taking even the eccentric load and springing you out of the bottom. Well, what these experts found was that the shift in the movement pattern itself can compromise the knee joint. All right, that is an important point, that the movement pattern itself that they noted compromises the integrity of the knee joint, which means it's going to, over time, potentially damage your knees just to the way the weight moves, the way the biomechanics shift. So when you have guys who talk about their knees hurting and everything from whatever reason they think it is, but they wear sleeves or they wear knee wraps, this study is showing you right here what's happening. There's your culprit. It's that actual bar path and the shift in the biomechanics that's happening that's putting the knee joint into a bad position. And their recommendations, if you'll notice at the end of the study, the recommendations of these researchers, these scientists, these exercise scientists, is that knee wraps should not be worn during the strength and conditioning process. All right, that is their expert opinion based upon this data that they cause injuries. Because again, the change in performance that you're seeing from this doesn't make you bigger, it doesn't make you stronger, it's an external object pushing. So you're not getting a real performance benefit from it, other than in a competitive environment, because you're not actually getting stronger as a result of that extra weight being moved. It's an object helping you. But it is damaging to the knee joint. And why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself? So of course their findings are going to be they should not be worn. That is the expert opinion of 3 researchers in the field are saying there in their conclusions. It's right there in the abstract. Then on top of that, there's the factor that there's a different type of damage caused by knee wraps. We don't know if this is caused by knee sleeves, but I've linked studies on this in the past. The actual knee wrap itself, not even considering the change in the loading pattern, can actually damage the knee joint because you are wrapping it up and you're pressing the patella, that bone on the front, against the knee joint, and that can grind the cartilage off of it over time. You're pressing it hard against it. And the only way you could avoid that with a knee sleeve would be the open face knee sleeves, but the knee sleeves don't benefit you either. So you're actually still damaging a different aspect of the joint with the knee wrap because of that. And it does over time grind that patella against there. And you think about it, it grinds hard already, but then when you bend all the way down, you're exposing other parts of that knee joint to the patella that aren't exposed when you're standing up straight. And then that wrap is pressing hard against it and grinding it against that moving joint. And that should just be common sense. When you look at the way a knee joint works, it should be common sense that you have the joint opening up and all of that cartilage exposed to the patella, and then you have an object pressing with pounds and pounds of force against that joint, taking a bone and grinding it against it while you move that joint. So the joint itself is grinding because it's in movement against the patella there. Common sense, people. You have to understand when you look at that that is going to, over time, damage cartilage in your knee. And it's very slow and difficult process for your body to regrow damaged cartilage, because you are basically shaving little micro slivers of cartilage off every single time that you do that. All right, you are slowly over time just grinding off and just shaving off cartilage that your body may not be able to regrow at even 1/10 of the rate that you're taking it off at. And you're also risking a buildup of scar tissue around there. So you see a lot of guys who talk about, oh, my knees hurt from squatting. My knees hurt from leg pressing. And they use wraps on the leg press, because we see guys do that on YouTube. We see guys do that on the internet. I've got an explanation for you. How about the fact that the actual wraps themselves are grinding cartilage off of the knee joint. They're grinding cartilage off of the knee joint and building up scar tissue. Well, of course it fucking hurts. That's going to cause pain. You're grinding off cartilage and building up scar tissue. No shit. Of course you hurt after doing it for years. And then on top of that, we've got all this other data now showing that the shift in the movement pattern itself when using a barbell squat with knee wraps, and it should be the same for knee sleeves on this one, puts the joint in a compromised position. All right, it compromises the integrity of the knee joint. And that's right there what the experts have written in their study, plain to see in plain English. Yet people still continue to do these things and still advocate them. It's sheer fucking ignorance. Alright guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.